Out for our May 15th, 2019 commission meeting. If you'll please stand and repeat the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into the agenda, there was just a couple things that we wanted to take a few minutes on. First, last week was the Spike 150 event throughout the state of Utah, commemorating the driving of the Golden Spike. Helper took a big part in that. There was a good celebration. I believe they're still showing that video that was produced by the elementary kids, so if you get a chance, go down and visit the Helper Museum and watch that video. It's a really good video. And then, being that it's National Police Week, Commissioner Martinez has put together a little something to show our appreciation.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. It is, as Commissioner Hope said, that's National Police Week, and that actually started on Sunday, the 12th, and that runs through Saturday, the 18th. And I think for what the police, the sheriffs, and the local law enforcement have to deal with on a daily basis, this is sorely needed, and I just want to thank you guys for what you do. The history on this is in 1964, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And in the week in which the date falls, it's also Police Week. It says that currently tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the world converge in Washington, D.C. to participate in a number of planned events to honor and pay tribute to those who pay the ultimate sacrifice. Again, for what these guys deal with, it's just, I think we need more than just a week to honor and thank these guys. And if you guys want to talk about the awards that were also given today.
Yeah, in our supervisors meeting, we give out special recognitions, and every one of our officers were honored and received a recognition for the service that they give out. It was probably far too little for the service that they put in, but we just wanted to show appreciation for the many hours of service that they put into our community.
Thank you, guys.
We'll move on into the agenda. Item number 1 is presentation of Carbon County Employee of the Month, Rose Barnes.
Commissioners, it's my privilege this month. Our Employee of the Month is Doris Johnston. She's from our Planning and Zoning Department. I've known Doris for a lot of years, and she really goes above and beyond. You know, she's an amazing employee. She does whatever she can to help out. She's always pleasant to people. She has to take some of our people on this side over on that side and direct them where they need to go, but I've never heard her say anything negative about her job or the county, and you don't hear that very often from employees. You know, and I personally would like to thank her, and I know her supervisor is going to say some things, so.
Now, Todd, be careful. This is being broadcast.
So we just want to thank Doris for all she does for our department. So she's the main point of contact for our department. She schedules all the building inspections, takes all the building permit applications, zoning applications. So it all goes through her and then funnels to Ryan and I. So she keeps Ryan and I on track, makes sure that we're following up with everything that needs to be done. So without Doris keeping track of everything, Ryan and I would be lost. So we appreciate everything she does, and she's always done everything that we've always asked her and above and beyond that. So we want to thank her.
Want to say something, sir?
I don't hug.
I just want to say thanks to everybody I work with, you know, and especially Todd and Ryan. They're fun to work with, and we have a great time, and I appreciate them too.
Well, you do a great job. Thanks. Item number 2, presentation of Tourism Supervisor Super Service Award. Tina Henry, sorry.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I literally just slid in from filming today, so we had a wonderful opportunity to work with Channel 4, so I apologize for the hat. I probably wouldn't normally wear that to a commission meeting. But I just want to say something really quick about Doris, if I can. I work in that part of the building now, and Doris has really, she really does go above and beyond. She does a lot of visitor information that is not part of her job, nor is she required to do. But when I'm talking to visitors, she's listening, and she always says, I'm learning from you, I'm learning from you. And she never complains. And I try my best not to have a lot of that fall on her, but a lot of it does, and so thank you. She's great. Okay, now down to this. This is also a young lady who I appreciate very much, and who's a great support for Carbon County Tourism, and she's a wonderful super service ambassador. We met again this past month with our hospitality committee and went over the nominations, and Cindy Lund, who represents Helper Hub and Castlegate RV Park, was awarded for outstanding customer service and being a valuable part of our community. So I invite Cindy up.
Thank you.
You know, there's really some great things happening in our community, all across our community. It's because of efforts like Cindy and different ambassadors that promote the area and help change what typically was said about our county, and it's because of ambassadors who put out a better and a good message. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate the addition to the county. I'm sure Helper does as well, and hopefully that venture works out for you guys.
Item number 3 on the agenda is approval of minutes. Commissioners, we have 2 sets of minutes. We'll take them individually. The first set of minutes is the May 1st commission meeting. Do we have any suggested changes there?
I have the one change. It's on the first set of minutes from the first. It's item number 4. First sentence there says that Commissioner Hope said that the bids were open on May 7th, but this meeting was on May 1st, so I think those might have been just crossed.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Commissioners, I have a couple changes,
Okay.
suggested changes. On the third page, second paragraph, the word major utility transmission projects at the end of that paragraph, major should not be capitalized.
Okay.
On page 4, section 7, review and a possible adoption of ordinance 515. Sentence says, Commissioner Hope saw no nothing. Just take out the word no in there. And then just above that, where it says, still on page 4 of 5, the end of the second paragraph, these changes are meant to give us more teeth to ensure. It should be E-N, ensure. And first page, bulletproof, should be one word. That's under section 3 for bulletproof vests. And then just throughout, wherever it says county commission should be capitalized. Both those words should be capitalized. And those are my changes.
Okay.
I don't have any others. I'll make the motion we approve minutes from May 1st.
I'll
of our
second
commission
that.
meeting.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next set of minutes that we have are the May 7th special commission meeting minutes. I saw no changes in those.
Commissioners, I have, my concern now is that what this is the, are you not the Carbon County Reinvestment Agency? So the statute no longer has redevelopment agencies. It has development agencies, economic development agencies, and a reinvestment agency. And I thought that some time ago we changed our name to be the reinvestment agency. So there's no longer redevelopment
Okay.
under the statute. So wherever it says redevelopment, I believe it should state reinvestment. If we haven't done an ordinance or a motion to change that, I think that needs to be done. My other suggestion is on the second to last paragraph where it says the creation of a county redevelopment agency is not an easy process. I think what she meant there is the creation of a county reinvestment agency plan. And I really think it's a creation of a county reinvestment area plan and not an agency, because the agency is already in existence.
Okay.
So that would be my suggestion. And then under the list of those present should be Tony Martinez, not Mike Martinez. And I think it should, for the purposes of this, you are county commissioners, but you're acting as board members of the agency. So when we say Casey Hope's commission chair, that should say Casey Hope's board member or board chairman. And for Tony and Larry, it should say board member rather than commissioner, since they're acting in the capacity of their board members of the reinvestment agency.
Okay.
And those are my only changes.
I don't have any other changes for that.
I don't either. I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from the special meeting for the Carbon County Redevelopment or Reinvestment Agency on May 7th.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 4, consideration of possible approval of and adoption of the Carbon County Destination Development Plan prepared by Coraggio Group. Tina, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, everybody's gonna be tired of hearing from me today. Well, gentlemen, you know all about this plan. This is a part of our pilot program that we were able to be a part of with cooperation of the Utah Office of Tourism. And so the Coraggio Group is the folks who came down and helped us develop a long-term strategic plan for tourism in Carbon County. In my research, I don't see where there ever has been one. So this is a really great opportunity for us. You guys have had a chance to look at it. You've had a chance to participate. But as you know, we were involved with a 10-person planning team that were chosen from different areas in hospitality and government. And so this isn't a plan that Coraggio created for us. This is a plan that our planning team created, and they kind of helped us and guided us. And so a lot of people have been saying, especially recently, that, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. You have the best job. You have the funnest job. And I do. I have a ton of fun. You were able to see that today. But it's also a lot of work. And in order for tourism to grow in Carbon County, this plan is very important. And I would like to see it be adopted as the official destination plan for the county. It is a 11-year plan. And so this takes us through the next level. And so, yeah, that's what it's about. But really quickly, before you guys, make comments or you just say if you're going to approve it or not, I want the audience to feel what I feel. Hopefully they will when I read this. So the vision is very long. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph, part of the plan. But when I hear this, I get the cold chills because this is my dream for Carbon County in 2030. So in 2030, Carbon County and its cities will be a different place. Because of the work begun in 2019, tourism will have evolved into a key industry that leverages Carbon County's historic and authentic past. It will offer attractive downtown experiences, access to newfound outdoor wonders, unique prehistoric adventures and experiences, and updated camping and lodging options, all of which will bring in new visitors, new sights and sounds, and will evolve Carbon County from a pass-through destination to a base camp. So, there you go. I don't know what
Great.
else I'm supposed to say, but
We've watched you work now for quite a while, and you've carried an enthusiasm for this tourism effort, and I want to thank you personally for what you've done and the work that's gone into this. If we follow this plan, it ought to see some fruit. So
that's
thank
what
you.
we're hoping for. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to echo Commissioner Jensen as well. You put a lot of time and effort, and it hasn't been 9 to 5. It's been a lot of after-hour meetings, a lot of weekends, a lot of planning, a lot of conferencing, a lot of everything. So I do appreciate it. Having a plan in place is critical. The other studies that I've seen show that this area, Carbon County, in the next 50 years is going to increase by about 57%. So that's an additional roughly about 11 to 12,000 people in this area. So if you encompass that along with tourism, I mean, we have to plan for the future.
Right.
We know good things are coming, but to have a plan in place like this is exactly what's needed. So I do appreciate your effort.
Thank you.
I echo everything that's been said. There was a committee, just for information, there was a committee put together to help with this process, and they would, like you said, they were locals that work in the industries and help bring all this forward. And the important thing moving forward from here is that, and it talks about it throughout the plan, is that this is going to be a community effort. It's going to take all of us to change our brand and move the destination forward. We're going to have to, just like we talked about earlier, our brand, we have to be brand ambassadors for ourselves and start bringing out and highlighting the good things that are happening in our community. And there are a lot of good things to talk about, so appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess the next part of this would be the approval of and adoption of the Carbon County Destination Development Plan. Do we have a motion or any further discussion?
I'll make the motion that we do adopt this destination development plan that's been put together.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tina.
Commissioners.
Item number 5, consideration and possible approval of contract with Four Corners Community Behavioral Health to provide drug tracker services for the Sheriff's Office. Christian.
Commissioners, over the past few years, the Sheriff's Office has employed UA techs, or urinalysis technicians, to work for them to provide services to the Carbon County Drug Court. In doing this, these people are fairly highly mobile. They have to go to a lot of different places. They use equipment and technology through Four Corners. And as we've looked at it, it just makes more sense for them to be employed by Four Corners than by the Sheriff's Office. And so they have space at Four Corners to house them and give them the areas they need. The testing takes place there, and so it just seems to make more sense to have Four Corners oversee those technicians and to let them provide the equipment and so forth that's used for those services. So this idea came about after a lot of conversation between the sheriff and Rose Barnes and Four Corners, and everybody's agreed that it just makes more sense for these people to be Four Corners employees. So that's what this agreement is to provide for. And I don't know if Sheriff wants to add anything to that. Certainly welcome.
So in the past, so these are civilian employees, and they did operate out of the jail at one time. And we found that it was problematic for us to have the civilians inside the jail without the proper certifications and trainings. And it also was filling our lobby up when they would do their UA testing, because there was a lot of people in drug court coming and going. So we moved them to Four Corners, and that worked fine over there, but we kind of lost contact with them. So it's hard for us to supervise those folks with them being in a remote location where none of our employees worked. And it just seemed to make better sense for Four Corners to have that authority over them, and we would just kind of pay Four Corners for those folks to keep the program going, but they would have ultimate control over, you know, the accountability end of the employees.
Sheriff, I have a question then. The money that was budgeted through your department now will just be shifted to Four Corners to pay for those folks to do that there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. No questions? I'll
Go
make.
ahead and
Go ahead.
sorry, Commissioner. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the contract with the Four Corners Community Behavioral Health to provide drug tracker services for the Sheriff's Office.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 6, consideration and possible approval of a 2020 CIB list with amendment for the Southeast District Health Building. Commissioners, as you remember, earlier this year we had to go through a process of ranking all of the projects and putting all the potential projects that might go to the CIB list, or to the CIB for funding on a list. This is simply adding the health district's building. They're going through a process. Maybe Commissioner Jensen can tell us a little more about the process of what they're trying to decide here.
For the health department continues to get mandates from the state that it requires them to add more employees, and they're literally out of room in the building they're in. And they're looking at options of, one option would be to move into the old courthouse. That building is not quite large enough, and we're trying to make some other accommodations that would help give them a little more room there. They're also looking at options to build a new building, but the funding part of it, they have cash to match, and they'd like to go to the CIB and see if they can get some help to relocate, whether it's in a brand new building or a remodel of the old courthouse. So.
Okay.
And just to be clear on that, that would not be county dollars?
That's correct. These are dollars that the health department has in hand. Thank you.
Commissioners, if you make a motion to add this, I think you ought to, doesn't the list also indicate where you put, where you prioritize that? So you might include that information as well in your motion as to where you'd put this on your priority list, if you do decide to include it.
If this were approved, it looks like it would be 14th on the list. And I guess one clarification is the loan would be through the municipal building authority of the county, but it would be paid like we do with the DNR building or the 7th District Court. They would make the payments, but because they're not eligible to go and apply for those funds, we would apply for the funds and they would make the payments on those.
Basically, it would be
basically
through a
rent it.
rental agreement, correct?
Yeah, correct.
But just to be clear again, I just want to state that that is not county money. The county would not be, if if the health department was successful, the county would not be building a building.
Correct.
Yes, and even the remodel of the old courthouse, they have, would end up spending over $1 million to remodel it at their expense.
Okay.
Well, I'll make the motion that we put this on the priority list it'll end up being item number 14 on the Community Impact Board's capital improvement list.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 7, consideration and possible approval of access agreement with University of Utah for Range Creek. Frank's here to talk about that for us. This is a program that we've had for quite a number of years.
We started doing trips in Range Creek in 2003, and it's a tight-knit group that can take vehicles in there. There's Carbon County Recreation, Tavaputs Ranch, and Canyonlands Fields Institute. We get 5 published dates a year, and we can apply for other dates on an as-needed basis. We charge $85 a person. We can take 24 people per day into the canyon, and we fill the trips every year. And so every 3 years, they ask us to sign a new contract with the University of Utah. So, and there's always a sentence that we have to take out, and I couldn't remember which one it was, but Christian remembered.
That's correct, Commissioners. On page 2, paragraph 3, under indemnification, within the middle of that paragraph, it says that we will indemnify the University of Sitla, the University of Utah and Sitla, and under B it says for commercial outfitters' use of the property or any other Sitla property or University of Utah property. And so we've always crossed out that provision that says any other Sitla property or University of Utah property, because we don't have any other similar agreement, and we don't want to, well, we're not going to indemnify for any other damages that aren't involved with other than this property. And so if you will just cross out that provision, I've actually crossed it out, and if somebody could just initial it, they've always accepted our crossing it out and initialing it every year. So other than that, I've reviewed the agreement. It looks the same as the one we sign every 3 years or so, and I don't have any concerns with it.
Okay. Frank, and you wore the appropriate red shirt when this
Oh, thank you.
subject considers University of Utah, so you're quite the salesman. So
Oh, thanks.
Way to plan that. So,
Years of experience.
yeah, there you go. I'll go ahead and make a motion unless there's any other comment.
I just had one question, Frank.
Yes, sir.
Other than the normal days that are allotted to us, do you take tours regularly on other times?
We do. We've already booked 2 private tours. We charge $650 for up to 8 people to go.
Okay.
And we've got 2 that want to go so far. And the October 5th date that we have, a guy from Mesquite called and took the whole trip today. So 21 spots. So there's still 3 left, but it's fun. If you haven't been, I invite you guys to sign up for one of the trips. We'd love to take you guys. It's a lot of fun. Have you been?
I have been. It's a great trip, not with Carbon Rec, but I have went with Tavaputs, and
Oh.
it's a phenomenal trip. There's some amazing sights that you can only see if you go on a tour.
Right.
Because you can go into the canyon, but you have to go in on foot, and you have to be out before dark. So the only way to see the sights are to go on a tour where you can drive down the canyon and see some of the tours.
I don't know if you know or not, but the picture in front of the DMV office is a picture of Range Creek. It's Locomotive Rock.
Yep.
It's very cool.
Yep.
Very nice. And I'm glad you brought that up too. There's a lot of people that come from outside the area. I mean, the locals kind of don't
No,
go there
we've
as
had
often.
people come from Scotland to go on this tour.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, I don't know if Christian would like all 3 of us going at the same time, but maybe we can
Sure.
work this out.
Have you been, Christian?
Yeah, I did it about 10 years ago, and it was awesome.
Good.
And the neat thing about a guided tour is a a lot of the stuff you won't see or notice unless you have a guide.
Guide, yep.
And frankly, the history of the Nutter family in there is just as fascinating as the ancient history.
It
I
is.
mean, about how they ranched in there and farmed in there and made a living in that place year after year. That's, to me, just as incredible as the ancient history.
It's an incredible place.
On a side note, Pam Tillis tickets go on sale Monday at www.dla.fun. She's coming for the fair. And I haven't got it signed yet, but I'm 90% sure that on November 1st, we'll have 38 special at the event center.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's
Thanks,
what's
Frank.
up. That's
Thanks.
Good job, Frank.
Thank you.
I guess the other thing while you're here, what other, I mean, you do 9 Mile tours as well.
9 Mile, San Rafael Swell.
Okay. So it's not just Range Creek. There are other tours that are offered. So if you really want to get to know your surrounding areas, if you're a local and you haven't had an opportunity to see what everybody comes from around the world to see, 9 Mile, Range Creek, the Swell, sign up for one of those and go
Yep.
on those. Those are really amazing places to be.
We have Lane Miller, who does our tours, and Juanita McAvoy. And Lane Miller says he's never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Sounds just like Mr. Miller.
Yep.
That's
And
great.
if you're not busy this weekend, we have a big weekend planned. Motocross race, 5K run on Saturday,
Little softball. as
little
well.
girls softball tournament.
Mhm.
We have a river trip. A lot of stuff going on.
I'm signed up for the 5K, so make sure there's good oxygen somewhere along
Someone
that
brought
route.
an hourglass in with your name on it.
You might need a sundial.
There we go.
And you can still sign up for the run on Saturday.
Perfect.
And all the proceeds go to the Carbon High athletes. It's going to be fun.
Well, again, appreciate everything you're doing.
Thanks.
And I'm glad to see you making your recovery.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then with the comments from Christian to make that adjustment, that we go ahead and move forward with the agreement with the University of Utah for the Range Creek.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Frank.
Item number 8, consideration of possible approval of DHS or Department of Human Services agreement for the crisis nursery contract. Commissioners, that was emailed to us because of the large quantity of paper the number of trees it would have killed. Do you have any questions on that contract?
I think, do you want to introduce it, Tony, and I'll chip in?
Yeah,
Or?
I've been talking to Shelley Wright. She's wasn't able to attend tonight, but there's a lot of this is a renewal of a contract. There is a lot to read, a lot to digest, and basically what it is, it's the Crisis Nursery Shelter and Post Adoption Respite Services Agreement. It's a 5-year contract. As best I can tell, and I'm new, Christian, you can advise on this, that the cost has gone up, or the award has gone up a little bit from previous years. Looks like about $8,000. The concern that Shelley has is basically, I think what Christian can address is the in-house care for adopted children. There is a $5,000 annual amount for that, but the concerns there basically are for the lack of help and also having people go into other people's housing.
So it's called respite care, and what it says is that a family that's just adopted a child can have up to, I believe, 20 hours of respite care, meaning the parents can leave the home and ask Shelley's Family Support Center workers to come in and provide care in the adoptive family's home for up to 20 hours over the course of a year. And so what you have then is a situation where her workers are going into an uncontrolled, basically an environment that they don't control or set up or regulate in any manner, subject to whatever people are in that home and whatever conditions might be in that home. So my concern and Shelley's concern is that it creates an unsafe environment possibly for our own employees, which ought to be our first concern. It pulls out employees out of the nursery where they're needed there, and it also opens up, it creates other liability concerns as to what they'll be able to do and how they'll be able to handle a situation where there might be a lot of other people in the home and other kids, and so it really puts a huge burden on our employees who are kind of at the whim of whatever environment they might find in those homes. So I know that Shelley feels that she simply does not have enough personnel to do this job, that it's an unreasonable request for her to have to do this or to ask her employees to do this. And so we would like to, she would like the authority to agree to the contract generally, but also the authority to say, no, I'm not going to provide this particular type of care, this in-home adoptive respite care. She'd like to be able to say, no, we will not provide that. And I agree with her. I think it's too much of a burden on her, and creates some real liability issues for the county. So it doesn't mean we shouldn't grant her the authority to enter into the agreement, but just that we recommend that she not enter into the agreement for the crisis nursery, or for the adoptive home respite care.
And that is part of the contract, and as it's stated here, that she will be able to enter into the agreement, but then object to that portion of the respite care.
Okay.
And just to clarify, this is one portion. This is not the total funding of the CJC. This is just the crisis nursery.
A question, are there any options to have the children come to the center?
It's already set up, so it's already allowed, which is another reason why we object to this, because Shelley already regularly schedules adoptive parents. All they have to do is call and say, we'd like a couple hours break, and she asks them to call a day or two ahead so she can schedule her workers for it. So that's already an option she provides and encourages adoptive families to use. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because for that very reason, this just seems excessive and unnecessary to have to require this, especially when we're in a small community. It's not that hard to get to the family support center. I mean, it's not like you're driving from, I don't know. The distances generally are not overly burdensome, in my opinion, for most families.
Yeah, and you're talking about surroundings and distances and that. Every county does not have a Children's Justice Center. There's 14 of them, 14 counties that do, 22 throughout the state. So we're very fortunate to have this. Shelley and her staff do a tremendous job. I appreciate the Friends Board as well that does fundraising and helps support Shelley. It's just a good thing to have in this neck of the woods, and I think to continue this on would be a good thing. So I think with your counsel, Christian, that would be good to we give that acknowledgement to Shelley that she'd move forward with this agreement, but not accept the respite care, the adoption respite care.
And I guess I'd like the phrase, I'd recommend you make the motion to say that you grant her authority to enter into the contract with a recommendation that she not enter into the adoptive home respite care. And, maybe that some adjustments and some things can be made to where some is provided, but under certain circumstances that we're comfortable with. So in other words, I would hate to say she can't sign up for that if circumstances are amended and changed so that we feel that she'll be safe and protected from liability. But on the other hand, so if you just made that recommendation, I think that would be sufficient.
Okay.
I'm good with that. Okay. I'll just read this so we're official. I'll make a motion that we give Shelley the authorization to move into the agreement with the crisis nursery and shelter and adoption, but we would advise her not to sign the portion of the post-adoption respite service.
Have a
I'll
motion?
second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9, closed session to discuss ongoing and pending litigation. We'll need
So, yeah, we just need to go into
Need a
closed
motion?
session. Yeah, we
Is
do
that a
need
roll
motion.
call vote? Or-
Yes.
We need a motion and a second, and then we'll have a roll call vote.
Okay, I'll make the motion. We go into
Hey, thanks.
executive session.
Thank you, win again.
I'll second that.
All in favor? We'll have to do is do it.
I've never done this, so
So
you
you
have to
just,
continue.
you just say Commissioner Martinez, aye or nay? You-
Commissioner Martinez. Aye.
Aye. Casey Hopes, aye.
Larry Jensen, aye. Yes.